On Valentine's Day, I got a call from the restaurant owner telling me that Lucas had made a reservation, but that evening, all I received was a message saying he had to have dinner with a client. Not long after, I was scrolling on my phone and came across a post from a junior Emily on her personal page. Thank you to your restaurant, and thank you to you too. The dessert tonight was delicious, but still not as sweet as your words. Attached was an intimate photo of her with Lucas. On the table were a bouquet of roses and a glass of champagne, the same things I received every year on this day. If it had been before, I probably would have cried and made a scene, questioning him, but this time I was genuinely exhausted. When Lucas came home, I was eating mango. He's allergic to mango. Even a small touch will make his whole body break out in red rashes. That's why, after so many years of marriage, there wasn't a single trace of mango-flavored anything in our house. Seeing that I wasn't asleep yet, he looked a little surprised. He casually handed me the gift he had prepared, his tone indifferent as he said, "Happy Valentine's Day." To be fair, Lucas really is a good husband. On every holiday, he always gives me a gift, choosing the most expensive items sitting in my shopping cart, like the red Vivienne Saturn jewelry set that was now lying in front of me. At this point, he would normally take me to the restaurant he reserved every year, with roses and champagne already waiting. This year was no different. Earlier that day, I had received a call from the familiar restaurant owner. He had witnessed my relationship with Lucas since our college years. You could say he was half a friend. Lucas once confessed his feelings to me and proposed to me at that very restaurant. On the phone, the owner half joked as he congratulated me on escaping single life, then asked if I wanted to try the restaurant's new dessert. "Does it have mango?" I asked. "If it does, I'll have the old one." "Thank you for the thought, my husband is allergic to mango." The moment I hung up with him, Lucas called. "Do you have dinner plans with a client tonight?" I asked. "I'll just go with you," he replied. Late at night, unable to sleep, I picked up my phone and scrolled through the news. That was when I saw Emily's post again. "Thank you to your restaurant, and thank you to you too. The dessert tonight was delicious, but still not as sweet as your words." The photo showed her leaning closely against Lucas, her lipstick leaving a faint red stain on the collar of his white shirt. On the table were the bouquet of roses and the champagne he gave me every year on this day. With just one glance, I recognized the place. It was the restaurant that once held such special meaning for Lucas and me. And the dessert Emily was holding was the new one the owner had just told me about, the one with the mango jam filling. Lucas sat down, intending to eat with me, but as soon as he saw the plate of fruit, he frowned. "Why is it mango?" he asked. I looked at Emily's post again. I knew clearly that her line, "Thank you to your restaurant, and thank you to you too," was meant for me. She was deliberately provoking me, but I was truly tired. I didn't want to text, question, or argue with Lucas anymore. I quietly stared at my phone screen and suddenly felt an intense craving for mango. I placed a rush delivery order, and before long, a box of freshly cut mango arrived. Its gentle sweetness with a hint of tartness tasted perfect. I had always loved mango, but ever since being with Lucas, I hadn't eaten even one piece. After finishing, I wiped my hands. "If there's nothing else, I'm going to bed," I said. Lucas grabbed my wrist, his voice low. "Today's Valentine's Day." I looked at him, not understanding what he meant. "So?" His brows furrowed more tightly as he stood, his tall figure looming over me. His breath brushed against my ear, warm and suggestive. "On a night this beautiful, you really want to go to bed early?" There was always a touch of coldness about him. After graduation, we grew distant. Every time Lucas wore a suit and those silver-rimmed glasses, the sharp, polished look only made him even more irresistibly attractive. But at that moment, my eyes only stopped at the faint lipstick stain on the collar of his white shirt. I took a step back to avoid his kiss. "I just ate mango. You'll have an allergic reaction," I said. I ignored Lucas's shocked expression and walked straight into the bedroom, shutting the door with a click and locking it behind me. The moment I lay down, my phone rang. It was my direct supervisor. "So you've really decided to accept the position? If you stand me up again because of Lucas, I swear I'll kill you." "I'm not kidding." I laughed. "I won't stand you up again. If I break my promise, I'll bring my head to you myself. The advertising department in my company had a higher paying position available, but it required frequent business trips around the world. 3 years ago, Miranda had already wanted me to take over that role. But I refused because of Lucas. The two of us were childhood sweethearts. Even as a kid, I knew he was someone who lived by strict order and routine. Being here today, gone tomorrow, barely seeing each other 30 days a year, never knowing when we could meet again, that kind of instability was something he absolutely couldn't accept. I once made him take the wildly popular MBTI test. He had no idea what any of it meant, but he still did it and handed me the results. ISTJ. The icon was a little old man wearing glasses, and the keywords were realistic, objective, calm, and self-disciplined. That was exactly who Lucas was. Back in high school, all the girls thought he was extremely boring. No one could understand why I liked him. I laughed and said, because he literally saved my life. That year, an earthquake struck the town where Lucas and I went to school. It happened during class, and everyone panicked and pushed to escape. But my legs gave out, and I collapsed on the floor. Lucas pushed his way against the crowd, fighting upstream to find me. He let me run ahead while he shielded me from behind. Later, when I thought about it, the memory still terrified me, and I asked him, "What were you thinking back then? If you died, wouldn't all your plans and hard work be gone?" Lucas was stunned by my question. I didn't think about any of that. At that moment, I just thought that if I couldn't escape, then dying with you would be fine. The Lucas from back then probably never expected that one day he would leave me alone because of someone else. I had never doubted the sincerity of his love, but sincerity can change in the blink of an eye. Miranda, my supervisor, was a sharp and perceptive woman. From the way I spoke, she knew something was wrong between Lucas and me. "Everyone makes mistakes," she said. "Pointing out someone's past mistakes is always easier than making up for them. Lily, I hope you'll always have the courage to flip the table and start over." Then she added, "Of course, someone as perfect as me never makes mistakes. It's normal that you're not on my level. But even if you lose a man, you can't lose your career. Come take the job in 3 days. Conveniently, we have a deal that needs you to fly to Argentina for negotiations. A woman can't lose one thing and then lose another." The next morning, I woke up early to go to the company and hand over my current work. Lucas was sitting in the living room, his lips slightly swollen, a sign of a mango allergy. It seemed that after Emily ate the mango dessert last night, she had kissed him again. I walked past him and headed straight for the door, but he suddenly grabbed my wrist. His brows were tightly furrowed, his eyes full of displeasure. "Why are you angry? Because I didn't go with you yesterday? I told you I was really busy and had to meet a client. I told you already that I'd be home late. The company is about to go public, and I'm part of the management team. I can't be with you all the time. Haven't we been living like this for years? What exactly are you acting out about now?" Right, we had lived like that for years. I loved him, so I tolerated everything. Even when he was so busy that he didn't reply to my messages for 5 days straight, I never blamed him. Until that one rare day he showed up to pick me up after work. His phone rang. Lucas, who always followed rules and never broke protocol, casually texted back while driving. That was the first time I heard the name Emily from his lips. And it was the first time I realized something crucial. He wasn't too busy to spare 1 second to respond. It wasn't that his principles didn't allow him to be careless, even for a moment. It was that I simply wasn't worth breaking those principles for. I pulled my wrist out of Lucas's grasp, looked at him calmly, and said slowly, "I've had enough. Lucas, let's get a divorce." Before I could finish, his phone suddenly rang. He glanced down at the screen, then looked at me with a hint of guilt. From the phone came Emily's sweet, whining voice. "Lucas, can you come pick me up? It's so cold today. I don't want to get out of bed. I don't care. If I'm late and you dock my pay, I'll cry." Lucas's expression softened almost instinctively. "You? Afraid of the cold? A girl who once climbed a snowy mountain in the middle of the night?" he said, voice gentling. "All right, stop fooling around. Get up already. It's your turn to bring me breakfast today." I let out a cold, mocking laugh. On the other end, it was as if Emily sensed something. Her tone suddenly brightened. "Oh right, thank Lily for me. I ate at her restaurant yesterday. I even borrowed her man too. I'll definitely work hard and give her a big gift someday." At that line, Lucas's eyes flickered with guilt before he quickly looked away. His thumb instinctively pressed the volume down button on the phone. When a person is beyond words, all they can do is laugh. I shook my head and turned to leave, but Lucas hurriedly ended the call with Emily and ran after me. He wanted to drive me to the office. Yesterday was because she had dinner with a client, but forgot to reserve a table, so I gave her our reservation. It was all because of the client. Do you understand? I quietly stared at him. Dinner with a client on Valentine's Day. Did he really not see how ridiculous that sounded? Maybe Lucas didn't realize it, but every time he lied or got nervous, he would unconsciously spin his wedding ring. And halfway to the office, he ended up turning the car around because Emily called again, either because of stomach pain or some other excuse. It didn't matter. It wasn't the first time. That winter was one of the coldest on record. Heavy snow blocked the roads and food delivery wasn't available. My stomach hurt badly and I wanted to ask Lucas to pour me a cup of hot water. But instead, I saw him grab his coat and get up. Emily's power went out. She's afraid of the dark. I'm going over to keep her company for a bit. I froze. I didn't even know what to ask. What kind of relationship do you two have that you need to go stay with her? Or is her house the only one without power in this entire brightly lit city? But Lucas didn't give me the chance to say anything. He rushed out the door without even stopping to see whether I was curled up on the bed because I was in pain. It was nothing like high school, when even the slightest sign that I might skip a meal from stress made him frown and scold me, only to magically pull out a warm rice cake from his lunchbox during break and press it into my hands. "Eat it while it's warm. You have stomach problems, don't you? Isn't it always me who ends up worrying about you? You just love troubling me." When I arrived at the office, my supervisor Miranda tossed a thick stack of documents onto my desk. "Finish all of this in 3 days. If you can't, then bring me your head." I buried myself in work until late at night. When I finally turned on my phone, I saw that the lawyer had sent me the draft of the divorce agreement. So I grabbed a cab straight to Lucas's company, despite the freezing, snowy weather. But the moment I stepped onto his office floor, the entire building suddenly lost power. I frowned and turned on the flashlight on my phone. Right then, a colleague I wasn't very close to sent me a link on Weibo, along with a hesitant message. "I think this is from the concert of the singer you like the most." I didn't understand what she meant, so I clicked it. Without meaning to, I tapped into the profile of the person who posted the video. It turned out to be Emily's Weibo. Her page documented every moment between her and Lucas, along with the private thoughts of a girl harboring a long, unrequited love. So she had known Lucas since high school, followed him into college, and now ended up in the same company. Her status read, "Losing my mind over him, but I don't even have any special privilege." I opened the video. Only then did I understand why my colleague had been so hesitant. Under the sparkling stage lights of the concert, Emily's and Lucas's faces were reflected in the camera lens. The two of them were holding hands, kissing amid the cheering, ecstatic crowd. The caption read, "When I was 18, I prayed to the gods that I could see my favorite singer's concert with you. Today the gods finally heard my prayers." My phone slipped from my hand. For the first time, I felt utterly lost. Lucas and I were childhood sweethearts. We had spent almost our entire lives together. Yet despite that, I felt as if he were frighteningly unfamiliar, like the man I loved had never existed at all. From Lucas's office came faint sobbing. "Please don't push me away. I just like you so much. What did I do wrong?" The small, fragile girl sat on the lap of the man in a suit, her arms wrapped tightly around his neck. Tears streamed down her face. In desperation, she pressed a tear-soaked kiss onto Lucas's cheek. I saw his hand resting on her waist slowly slide upward until it cupped the back of her neck. In the darkness, they shared a deep kiss. The power returned in an instant, flooding everything with bright light. Finally, the two of them noticed someone standing at the doorway. "Lily, it's not what it looks like," Emily blurted out, panicked. I just really like Lucas. It has nothing to do with him." Lucas looked at me, his eyes strangely empty, his lips slightly parted, still glistening faintly with moisture. "Lily, Why are you here? I stepped forward calmly, removed my wedding ring, and threw it straight at his face. The impact snapped him back to his senses, and he hurried to push Emily off his lap. He raised his voice, desperate to explain. Lily, let me. I didn't let him finish. I quietly pulled out the printed divorce agreement and held it up to him. Lucas, let's get a divorce. Lucas, abandoning any concern for his image, chased after me from his office all the way down to the lobby. Lily, listen to me. It's really not what you think. Half the building had stopped to watch. Embarrassed, I immediately called a cab and left in the swirling snow. Lucas pressed hard against the car door, refusing to let me leave. His face looked almost pleading. There's really nothing between me and her. She's just a kid. She doesn't know any better. She's only 2 years younger than us, I replied, my voice flat, without the slightest ripple. He looked at me, the rims of his eyes reddening, as if he were watching a ship that would never return to port. Don't look at me like that, Lily. I'm begging you. Don't look at me that way. We've been together for more than 10 years. I can't live without you. Emily was just an accident. His voice grew softer and softer. Suddenly, a panicked shout sounded from behind us. Mr. Lucas, Emily is trying to jump from the building. You need to come right now. Instinctively, he let go of me and turned around. I let out a cold, quiet laugh and slammed the car door shut without hesitation. In the rearview mirror, Lucas ran a few steps toward me, but then he stopped, turned back, and hurried toward the company. I closed my eyes, and that was when the real pain in my chest finally surged through me. The taxi driver glanced at me through the mirror and asked worriedly, Miss, are you all right? I wiped my face. Only when my fingers touched my cold skin did I realize I had been crying without noticing. When I got home, I started packing my belongings. Before long, both my parents and Lucas's parents called. I let out a bitter laugh in my heart. Lucas was truly busy, comforting someone threatening to jump off a building, while also remembering to notify both families so they could persuade me. Lucas and I had been together for more than a decade, much more entwined than most married couples. And the more entwined you are, the harder it is to break free. In the end, my parents only sighed. Lily, we just hope every decision you make is for your own happiness. I finished packing. The moment I opened the door, I came face to face with Lucas's exhausted, weather-beaten face. His expression was frantic, like a child who had done something terribly wrong. His hands trembled as he grabbed me. Lily, don't go. Please. Don't go. I can explain. I looked at him silently. Suddenly, he broke down. I'm begging you. You can hit me, yell at me, just don't look at me like that. Don't look at me that way. He clutched my suitcase tightly, refusing to let me leave. Lily, we promised each other we'd stay together until our hair turned gray. Our parents are still waiting for us to come back to Sunville for New Year's this year. You can't abandon me at a time like this. They really miss you. I exhaled a soft sigh. What do you want from me, Lucas? He nearly dropped to his knees, burying his face against my stomach, tears soaking into my shirt. His voice was hoarse. I'm begging you. Give me another chance. I swear I'll change. I didn't answer. My eyes drifted unintentionally to a photo that had slipped out while I was packing, our college graduation picture. Only now did I notice that it wasn't just me and Lucas in the photo. Emily was there too, standing far in the background beneath the trees, her gaze fixed on Lucas and his eyes. They weren't looking at me, they were looking past me, responding to her. So it had all started a long time ago. All those moments I thought belonged to just Lucas and me. There had been a third person quietly lingering in the background all along. Lucas trembled slightly, not daring to lift his head, like a prisoner awaiting his final sentence. Unexpectedly, I said, "All right." He jerked his head up, stunned, hope flickering desperately in his eyes. "Really? Lily, you really mean it? You're giving me another chance?" I nodded. "Yes, but on one condition. In high school, didn't we promise we'd go on a beach trip someday? All these years, you've always been too busy, so we never went. Now, I want you to take time off. Spend 5 days at the beach with me. Just the two of us. Can you do that?" Lucas agreed immediately. He pulled me into a tight embrace, mumbling, "That's it? It's that simple?" It had to be simple. But I knew he wouldn't be able to do it. Thinking about it more carefully, it wasn't really surprising that Lucas was attracted to Emily. He had lived his entire life in perfect order. From Sunville, he got into a top university in the capital, planned every step of his career, worked tirelessly, and eventually built a solid company of his own. He had a stable career, a promising future, and a childhood sweetheart who had been by his side for more than a decade. Everything about his life was steady, predictable, and neatly arranged. But anyone who drinks plain water every day will eventually crave a little excitement. And Emily was exactly that, an ice-cold Coke on a hot summer day. She loved fiercely, recklessly. She would drag him to climb snowy mountains in the middle of the night, stay up till dawn at concerts, kiss him on the beach at sunrise. No matter how cold a man is, there will always be a moment when he yields to a burning red rose. After Lucas filed for time off, he stayed home with me every day as if afraid I'd change my mind. He watched every one of my movements carefully. He personally planned the entire beach trip, acting like he was truly looking forward to the vacation we had never managed to take all those years. As for me, I just absent-mindedly scrolled through Weibo. Every day, Emily posted something new, almost like she was torturing herself, analyzing her relationship with Lucas. Today, at last, she couldn't hold back anymore and posted a vague, dramatic line. "The one he loves is me." I let out a soft laugh and made a post of my own. "From now on, we'll settle down on an island together. Yesterday's stories end with yesterday. Today begins anew. The past is smoke. From here on, I just want to hold your hand." And just like that, Emily finally couldn't restrain herself. She asked to meet me at a cafe. She was almost falling apart, her voice trembling as she tried to keep it down. "After everything that's happened, why do you still want to stay with him?" I gave her a faint smile but didn't answer. She clenched her fists, panic filling her eyes. "You too. You're really going? You're going to live on an island together?" Her face went pale. "Why? Why didn't he ever tell me?" I placed the visa application, rushed through by my supervisor Miranda, on the table in front of her. Half joking, half serious, I said, "Lucas and I have been together for over 10 years. He begged me to give him another chance. I told him that if he could give everything up and leave with me, I'd forgive him. And of course, he happily agreed. Instantly, I smiled, but there wasn't even a trace of warmth in my eyes. Emily nearly lost her mind. "No, no way, he wouldn't. He wouldn't. He told me, he clearly told me." Her voice cracked, choked by frustration. "He said he liked me." I looked at her coldly. Emily was truly skilled at manipulating emotions. On Valentine's Day, she deliberately dragged Lucas out, sent messages to provoke me, publicly hinted at their relationship, and even let me witness them kissing with my own eyes. All of it was meant to force me out so she could take my place. But she never expected that my place in Lucas's heart still mattered more. She thought her careful schemes would work, but in the end, she dug a hole only to fall into it herself. Emily, blinded by rage, lunged at me. I immediately threw my iced coffee straight into her face, then slapped her with all my strength, knocking her to the floor. I grabbed her hair and forced her to lift her head. A faint smile curled at my lips. "Miss Emily, if you're going to be the other woman, then at least have the self-awareness that comes with being the other woman. Did you really think he loves you?" Looking at her pretty face twisted in resentment, I kindly repeated myself. "If Lucas truly goes with me, then I'll forgive him and stay with him. But if he doesn't, then for the rest of my life, I will never forgive him again." Emily's expression shifted constantly. I smiled softly because I knew she finally understood. Inside the airport, Lucas anxiously checked his phone, his lips pressed so tightly together they'd gone pale. "Lily, this time it's different. Emily got into a car accident. Her condition is really critical. Can we go to the island next time?" Emily really was reckless to the point of having nothing left to lose. I quietly looked at him. My eyes drifted slowly across every line of his face. After a moment, I finally spoke. "Now I understand why that day you refused to go to the concert with me." Lucas froze. His lips twitched as if trying to smile, but he couldn't manage it. In the end, the curve he formed looked painfully absurd. That concert was her 18th birthday wish, so I couldn't turn her down. I let out a cold laugh. That was also my favorite singer. Going to a concert with you was my 18th birthday wish too. I was there at that concert as well, just without knowing that my husband was kissing another woman in the middle of the crowd. I had sent him a message during the show, reminding him to eat properly. My message sank like a stone into the ocean without a single reply. Panicking, Lucas raised his voice as if he could still salvage something. There's always next time. There won't be, I cut him off. It was his final concert. There will be no next time. I looked straight into his eyes. There won't be a next time. We stared at each other in silence. Finally, I relaxed my shoulders and waved my hand. Go. She was in an accident. You're her supervisor and her senior. Not going would look bad. As for our beach trip, I pressed my lips together and met his gaze, as if I were looking straight through him and back to when we were 18, and he once promised to take me to the beach someday. We'll go next time. Lucas looked as if he'd been pardoned from a death sentence. He rushed out of the airport immediately, disappearing into the snowy rain to get to Emily. Meanwhile, I quietly tore up the plane ticket in my hand and tossed the pieces into the trash. Then, I reprinted a new one, Destination, Argentina. When Lucas woke up, he had his arms around a woman. As usual, he instinctively pressed a kiss to her neck. She let out a soft, flirtatious whimper. Something felt wrong. He jolted upright, eyes widening. This isn't Lily. He raced to the hospital, only to discover that Emily's car accident had been nothing more than a ploy to lure him there. At first, he was genuinely angry, but then she cried and choked out, I've loved you for so many years. I'm begging you, just for tonight, stay with me. A voice in his head kept pulling him away. Lily will be angry. Lily will be hurt. They were childhood sweethearts. They'd grown up together, married 7 years. Everything had been so good. He couldn't lose Lily. But Emily looked at him with watery eyes, pressing her tear-streaked cheek into his warm palm. A beautiful woman collapsing into your arms. How could anyone resist? And so, he didn't refuse her. Lucas stared at Emily's sleeping face, and suddenly his heart felt like it was falling off a cliff. A sharp wave of dread washed over him, the kind that only comes when a person realizes they're about to lose the most important part of their life. There's a kind of instinctive premonition, like a dream falling from a great height. In the middle of the night, without any reason at all, Lucas suddenly saw in his mind the look in my eyes at the airport, reluctant yet utterly decisive, as if it had been a final goodbye. He practically lunged for his phone. The sudden movement startled Emily awake. Her voice was still hoarse from their earlier intimacy. Lucas, what's wrong? But right at that moment, his phone battery died. Lucas's heartbeat instantly spiked. He pressed his lips tightly together, staring at the black screen as it charged, as if he could bore a hole through it with his eyes. His anguish and panic were so overwhelming that even Emily looked frightened. When the phone finally turned on, a call came through immediately, followed by a violent torrent of shouting. Lucas froze. It was his mother. It took him a long time to understand what was happening. Turns out, I had gathered every piece of evidence of his affair with Emily, compiled it all into a PowerPoint file, attached a 320-megabyte folder full of photos, and sent everything to both our families, all his colleagues, and all of our mutual friends. The final slide of the presentation carried my signature touch, a photoshopped wedding picture of him and Emily, with a line written in elegant cursive, "Congratulations to this lovely adulterous couple. May you have no children, no grandchildren, and eternal bliss together." After hanging up, Lucas immediately opened our chat. I had left him only a photo of the divorce papers and one sentence. "They're on the desk in the study. Sign them and bring them to my office." Lucas raced home like a madman, running red lights all the way. That winter was unnaturally cold. Rain and snow made the roads slippery. He nearly lost control several times, almost causing an accident. The driver of a car that nearly hit him rolled down the window despite the storm and cursed him relentlessly. Lucas didn't hear a single word. His mind was consumed by one thought: go home and find Lily. I was always soft-hearted, always loved him so deeply. Surely there was still a chance to fix things. He couldn't wait. Lily must be furious now. But when he finally reached home, the house was empty. I had taken nearly all my belongings. The day before, when I was packing for our supposed beach trip, he had teased me, "Are you planning to never come back or something?" At that time, I had only laughed faintly and kept my head down, not answering. Now, his heart tightened with a dull ache. So, I had already been prepared to leave him back then. No, impossible. The time he'd spent with me nearly filled his entire life. He couldn't live without me, and surely, I couldn't live without him. As long as he sincerely apologized, sincerely made up for everything, I would soften like before. Because I had once said that childhood sweethearts were born to be together. But when he went to my company, the cold, strict woman in a position of authority simply instructed the security guards to throw him out. He struggled for days just to reach one of my coworkers, only to receive distant, indifferent stares in return. After searching everywhere for many days, he finally learned that I had accepted a new executive position. I was now traveling the world for long-term business negotiations with no known date of return. How ridiculous. She was his wife, yet now he had to desperately ask around just to gather a fragment of information about her. In that moment, Lucas suddenly realized that little by little, Lily had already been drifting away from him for a long time. Their WeChat chat box had long been empty of the little daily messages she used to share. Now, whenever he texted her, all he got was a red exclamation mark. This user has blocked you. He opened her Weibo page. Every post related to their relationship had been wiped clean. Only one status remained, one she had shared long ago. When did you decide to break up? It's when you realize that the rest of your life will probably look exactly like today, full of despair. I just want to live happily. After finishing my work, I gave myself a little time to travel around Argentina. This country, 22,000 kilometers away from home, was in the middle of summer. Sunlight drenched everything, like someone had draped a layer of golden silk across the land. On the streets of Buenos Aires, tango dancers spun gracefully under the sunset. The music carried the romance of Europe mixed with the wild passion of South America. At the invitation of our business partners, I went to Mendoza that summer. The vineyards there stretched endlessly, lush and green, like a vast sea of vines shimmering under the sun. Soaking in that warmth, it felt as if the long, bitter winter back home had completely melted away. Just as I accepted a glass of Malbec wine, my phone rang. It was Lucas. His voice was hoarse. "Lily, where are you?" I took a sip of wine and glanced at the map. Argentina, on the other side of the world. "What do you want?" "If the divorce paperwork is ready, send it to my office, and if there's nothing important, don't contact me again." Lucas fell silent. I was about to hang up when he suddenly spoke, an apology, sounding as if some locked door inside him had burst open. His choked voice came through the line, mixed with suppressed sobs, frantic and pained, like a child abandoned in the middle of a huge shopping mall. "Lily, I'm sorry. I'm begging you. Please forgive me. Tell me what to do. I'll do anything. It's been more than 20 years. We've been together more than 20 years. Can you really just walk away like that? How can you be so heartless?" I let out a faint, almost amused laugh. Perhaps he heard it, because on the other side of the call, everything suddenly went silent. His crying stopped. His voice rose in panic. "Lily, why are you laughing? What are you laughing at?" I lowered my head, exhaled softly. "Just like this, Lucas. You're doing it again. You're always so certain that I love you. So certain that the moment you sound hurt, I'll soften. But Lucas, have you ever thought about this? I don't love you anymore." I returned to Sunville on New Year's Eve. That's the biggest inconvenience of being childhood sweethearts. You know each other far too well. As the whole family gathered around the New Year's dinner table, there was a knock at the door. I opened it and found Lucas standing there, holding a huge bouquet of white roses. He was much thinner. His jaw was covered in uneven stubble, and there was even a red cut where he'd shaved carelessly. He looked disheveled, pathetically so. The presentation I'd created had completely destroyed his and Emily's reputations in the business world. Maybe fate really has eyes, because from that moment on, Lucas's company began to collapse. People who once supported him saw what kind of person he truly was and simply shook their heads before walking away. My family had just been laughing about it at the dinner table moments earlier. And as for me, after that last phone call, I had never contacted him again. Outside, thousands of homes glowed with warm lights and fireworks thundered across the sky. Lucas looked at me, his eyes full of absolute despair. But Lucas still clung to a fragile sliver of hope. With difficulty, he spoke. "All these years, we've always spent New Year's Eve together. Lily, I really love you. I can't live without you. I looked at him. When we were younger, every New Year's Eve he would sneak over, cheeks flushed red, and stuff a rose into my hand. I used to think that if I ever saw Lucas again, it would tear me apart. But to my surprise, my heart was now calm, still as water. Over these months, I had flown across the world, seen countless landscapes. Those sights were like flowing water, slow but steady, filling up every empty space inside me. Fireworks thundered. The old year slipped away. This bitter winter was finally coming to an end. A new year was arriving. Lucas, don't do this. You're making me feel disgusted. His face instantly turned pale. I slammed the door shut. When my parents asked who had been at the door, I simply shook my head and said calmly, "No one." Then I went straight to the steaming hot pot on the table, fighting with my family for the last slice of beef. Laughter filled the room, warm, bright, overflowing. It felt good. I still had my family. Under the brilliant guidance of my self-proclaimed wise supervisor, my career soared. I quickly adapted to a life of constant travel around the world. Each time I visited a new country, I sent my family a postcard. My mom, who didn't even use the internet much, somehow learned a phrase online and started calling me her little traveler frog. This time, I arrived in Japan. She worriedly told me, "Sweetheart, be careful. I heard Japan has a lot of earthquakes." I bit into a mango dessert I'd just bought, walking along the road toward a fireworks festival. Japan truly was an intriguing place. Deeply influenced by my own culture, yet having grown in a completely different direction, quiet, nostalgic, and full of delicate romance. Under the summer night sky, Japan's fireworks festivals felt like vivid dreams. Explosions of color blossomed across the heavens like glittering stars, bright enough to turn night into day for a fleeting heartbeat. I looked up, momentarily forgetting to breathe. Coming back to myself, I laughed as I told my mom on the phone, "There aren't earthquakes that easily, you know?" But perhaps fate really does favor certain moments, because right then, the Japan Meteorological Agency issued an unprecedented emergency alert, a massive earthquake warning for the Nankai Trough. Flights to China were packed, and when the news reached home, I conveniently lost signal. My mother panicked so much she prayed to every god she could think of, even burning incense in the middle of the night, begging for my safety. Lucas received the news and didn't say a single word. He immediately bought a ticket to Japan. At the time, Emily was still with him. She had lost her job and been blacklisted across the industry. Now she could only cling to whatever assets Lucas had left to survive. The once brilliant fiery red rose was now nothing more than a wilted flower, pitiful and fragile. "Don't go," she grabbed him, eyes full of desperation. "Even if you go, Lily won't forgive you. Don't you get it? She doesn't." But Lucas had made up his mind. He brushed her hand away, not forcefully, yet she still stumbled backward and hit her head against the wall, the impact drawing blood. She screamed hysterically. "She doesn't love you. Don't you get it? She doesn't love you anymore. Only I love you, Lucas, only me." But all he left her was his retreating back. Fortunately, I escaped danger. My flight home was affected, but still landed safely. Before the plane took off, my previously broken phone unexpectedly received a call from an unknown number. But the flight attendant was urging passengers to switch off their devices, so I turned it off without answering. When I finally arrived back home, I let my family know I was safe, then immediately headed to the office. That strange phone call slipped out of my mind just as quickly. It wasn't until Emily showed up in front of my company building that everything resurfaced. She no longer looked bright or beautiful. She wore a dull gray outfit, her eyes swollen and red, her voice trembling. "Where's Lucas? Give Lucas back to me." I stood behind the glass doors, frowning at her as if looking at a lunatic. So Lucas had actually gone to Japan right before the earthquake. A sudden instinct made me think back to that unknown call at the airport. But I remained calm and instructed security to remove her. I didn't care. Whether he was her boyfriend or her burden now, it had nothing to do with me. The news eventually reached my parents. Lucas had informed them before it reached me. During the earthquake in Japan, he had gone to the exact spot I'd posted on Weibo, the place where I watched the firework festival. Like a stubborn fool clinging to the past, he had tried to find me using a trace that was already outdated. Lily. He had used a new number to call me. But all he heard was the busy tone, my rejection silently echoing. He thought I was still angry and refused to pick up, so he went to the hotel I had booked before. And at that exact moment, a building collapsed. My mother sighed heavily as she reached this part of the story. I couldn't help but think back to 8th grade, the boy who shielded me during the earthquake, pulling me through a collapsing school. A surge of complicated emotions welled up inside me. But this time, Lucas couldn't escape. His leg was crushed. After recovering, he might walk again, or he might not. My mother asked gently over the phone, "Sweetheart, do you want to go see him?" I shook my head, but then realized she couldn't see that. So I answered softly, "Mom, he and I no longer have anything to do with each other." After hanging up, I looked out the window of yet another foreign country. I wondered what beautiful scenery this place would hold. I was already looking forward to it. And as for the past, yesterday's story ended with yesterday. Today begins anew. I hope that all women will always have the courage to flip the table and start over.